Imagine if you went from feeling fine every day to feeling amazing. How would your life be different? Everyone has the ability to feel amazing again and again. You just need the right tools to get there. If you're ready to feel amazing, stick around. Now, here's the host of the I'm Not Fine show with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens.
Welcome, everyone. I am not Lizzie Ens, but I am Christine McIver. I am the CEO of the Inspired Choices Network. And one of my most favorite things to do here on the network is introduce these amazing hosts to the world with their very first show. So Lizzie Ens is here with me today. If you're only listening audio, you'll hear her voice in just a second. If you're watching us on video, she's right there. Lizzie, I am thrilled. I am thrilled that you are here with us and you've said yes to bringing your amazing voice and knowledge and expertise to the world through the Inspired Choices Network.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be a wild journey, but it's going to be fire because I have a lot to share. I have a lot to talk about. So you guys better buckle your seatbelts because it's going to be a ride.
It's going to be a ride. Well, before we jump in, because I know we're never going to have enough time to talk because we both love to talk. I'm going to give everybody the formal introduction of Lizzie Ens. So Lizzie Ens is the founder of UnDiet Yourself. She is a board certified functional nutrition practitioner. She is a personal trainer, the author of Escaping My Reflection, a speaker, and now both a radio, TV, and podcast host. Lizzie Ens is a former Amish girl who chose to jump for a better life and future at the age of 19, leaving everything she knew up until then, her entire community and family behind. Lizzie is now on a mission to make an impact by helping people get more energy, get better sleep, please, and rebalance their hormones by focusing on whole body healing so their body can function at its best and take them from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. So you can find Lizzie. Lizzie's got two websites. I'm going to give them both to you here now, so get a pen. You can find her at www.lizzie, that's LIZZIE, ENS.com. So that's lizzieens.com or undietyourself.live. And you can also find Lizzie's book. You absolutely want to check out Lizzie's book. You can find that at lizzieens.com/escaping_my_reflection. And of course, you can find her on social media. And right after this show, you're going to be able to find her on over 80 podcast platforms. And you can also enjoy Lizzie on TV. Go to inspiredchoicesnetwork.tv. Or if you love to just listen and watch with your phone, download the Inspired Choices Network smartphone app in your app store, and you can get her on the go all the time. Lizzie, this is so awesome. I just love sharing that. I'm just like soaking up everything in your bio and everything that you've done. And today we're talking, I'm fine, the little white lie. So have you gotten used to saying I'm fine, but deep down it's a lie? Do you have a desire to feeling amazing? In common usage, I'm fine is a general way of saying there's nothing particularly wrong. Yet it also means that there isn't anything superlatively. Oh, I can't pronounce that word. See, I'm not perfect. Right, well, or good. So today, Lizzie's going to talk to us all about what that means and all about her. We're going to get to know as much as we can about her. Before we jump into the lie about I'm not fine, can you kind of give us maybe a 5-minute overview of your journey up to this point in your life?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to back it up to where I grew up. Grew up in an Amish community, the most strict Amish community that you could grow up in, and ran away when I was 19, literally like jumped off a 15-foot roof and escaped the community and the family and left my family behind and took that journey 19 years ago. So the end of this month is 19 years, and I was 19.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's so cool.
I was just talking about this to my cousin yesterday, and I was like, 19 years in, and now 19 years later, like, this is crazy. So I left when I was 19. And so that journey of when I left until now, when I think about that journey and how I got to where I'm at now is just mind-boggling. But when I did leave, I didn't have a social security number. I had an 8th grade education. I never had a job anywhere. So I had to go out and get my social security number. I had to learn how to have a job, make my own money, because I didn't do that before, and learn how to like make a living on my own. So it was just this journey of keep going, one foot in front of the other over all of those years. And when I started my education process, because I, came from an 8th grade education, so I had to get my high school diploma. And then after that, I studied personal training. And after that, I did health coaching through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And then a few years after that, I went into functional nutrition and studied that. So you just keep building. Right. And that's why, and in that process of me, I actually started my business before I started studying functional nutrition. So in 2020, I started my business UnDiet Yourself. And then I went back to school because I realized that I really want to work with women and their hormones. And so I studied that and then continued to build on from there. And now that's what my business is helping women get more energy, get better sleep, and just feel better overall. But also it's a whole body healing experience. It's getting down to the root cause of their issues, which brings us to I'm not fine. Right. Because when we go to so many women that when we go to the doctor, we get our labs done. This is like the moral of the story of every woman that I talk to. I went to the doctor, got my labs done. And when I got the results back, the doctor's like, oh, not much is wrong, or everything's fine, you're fine. But they're like, I'm not fine.
Right. So before we jump a little further, you're also, so in 19 years, and actually in 3 or 4 years, you really self-taught, you pulled up your own britches and moved forward. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that there was an emotional journey in leaving your community and your family behind. And if you don't have Lizzie's book, Lizzie, can you show everybody your book? Yes,
this is my book, Escaping My Reflection.
It's an excellent book. I don't know why I don't have my copy standing right here, but I can't grab it right now.
No, but it's really cool.
It's a real huge eye-opening. But in these short years, you have also, you got married, you bought a home, you had a child, all the while starting a business, getting your education, upgrading your education. Like, girl, holy moly.
And writing a book.
And writing a book.
Which, by the way, the Audible version of the book is going to be available late June or early July.
Oh, that's excellent. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Audible. And you'll be able to find Lizzie's show on Audible as well. So that's excellent. So you've gone through so many changes. The I'm not fine, you've talked about how you've heard that from many people, many women that you've worked with. How much of I'm not fine has been part of your journey?
Yes. So a few years ago, I realized that when I say that I'm fine, it actually means I'm not fine. But it also means if someone asks me how I'm doing, I thought, I went into this journey of like being positive. I'm a pretty positive person. I'm very optimistic. And I always look for the good before I look for the bad. And I truly believe that's part of also why I'm able to move forward as quickly as I can in this journey. And so I'm that optimistic person. But I got so used to just telling people that I'm fine and I'm okay when I wasn't, when I deep down, I was not okay. So over the last few years, I realized that it's okay for me to say, you know what, I'm not okay. Like I remember one of the most pivotal moments where I realized that it's okay for me to say that I'm not okay was literally when I had stopped breastfeeding my son. And I went into the worst postpartum depression, and I didn't realize that that's what it was, because I didn't know that you can go into postpartum depression after you stop, but your hormones change again when you stop breastfeeding, especially after like 2.5 years. And so I went into this deep depression, and I posted a picture, not saying anything. I didn't say anything about it. I posted a picture of saying something on my Instagram story, and a girl that I knew at the time that I was training saw the picture, and she reached out to me in a personal text, and she says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not okay. Why?" And she calls me right away. And that was one of the first times that I ever just openly said, "No, I'm not okay." But I didn't tell her right away, but then she reached out.
That's
and
fantastic.
she's like, "I saw your photo. I saw that the tears were welling up in your eyes. I saw something was not right, but I hadn't said anything. She just saw it." And she
Right.
called me. And it was at that point in time that I realized that it's okay for me to say that I'm not okay. So sometimes when we say, well, I'm fine, typically means I'm not fine. And for many people, it's like, I don't want to talk about it, or it's an open door of if you're saying I'm fine, the recipient person of that conversation can go, "But are you really?"
Right.
And do you want to talk about it? If you don't want to talk about it, it's fine, but just know that I'm here and the door is open if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, we definitely need those people in our world. Lizzie, when you had that awareness, how many years ago was that?
Like 2 years.
2 years ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you had that awareness, have you since that time looked back prior to that and noticed when you were buying the lie yourself that you were fine, but you weren't? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was
Because
it?
I walked into personal development, and when I walked into personal development over the years, it was about being positive, and you just go and you're good. Like you can do anything, those kinds of things, and almost disregarding the fact that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah.
We are going to go to our first break of the show. And when we get back, Lizzie's going to dive more into her understanding of the I'm not fine lie that we're telling ourselves and we're telling the world, and the impact that it's having. And the one question that's popping in my mind is, and don't answer it yet, but what's the impact on our bodies and on our hormones when we keep telling ourselves, or we keep selling ourselves the lie and we keep buying it, right? So everyone, you have to join us in the chat room. Come on over to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com/chat room. We have a party going on in there. You can comment, you can ask your questions, you can really experience what it is to be live with us and live with Lizzie. She's going to be live every single Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 Central, 11 Mountain, and 9 Pacific. Sorry, my brain is like, wait a minute, where are we? And you can definitely participate and ask her questions and really just tap her brain, because that's what she's here to do for each and every one of us. So you are listening to the I'm Not Fine show with the host Lizzie Ens. I'm Christine McIver, and today we are on Inspired Choices Network. Don't go anywhere. We got more for you coming right up.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie@undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Here we are. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I am the introducer today of the I'm Not Fine show. I'm here with the host of I'm Not Fine, Lizzie Ens, and today is her debut show. Certainly not the beginning of her journey, but her debut show on the Inspired Choices Network, I'm Not Fine. And today we're talking about I'm Not Fine, the little white lie. If you missed the first segment, you've got to go back and hear all about Lizzie, because you know what I love, Lizzie, is I love learning about what brought people to what they're speaking about. And I think that when we see the bigger picture on them and their journey and their hills and their valleys and their growth and their insights, when we start to hear what they want to share with us and their expertise, we lean in more. We've got more of a connection with them, and we can begin to relate more easily to them when we know their background. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. And I know you're going to be doing some shows about your journey more in depth, and you've got lots of different ideas for this show. But today, let's get into the whole thing about the white lie.
Absolutely. So ask yourself this: if you say, I'm fine, is it the truth or is it the lie? And 9 times out of 10, it's probably a lie. Now you get to choose like what you want to do with that. Like I said earlier, we get to decide what we want to share. But Christine, you asked an amazing question right before we went to break about what the impact is on our bodies and our hormones when we keep telling ourselves the lie of I'm fine. Because when you really think about it, if we say that we are fine, but we're not, that is us not speaking our truth. We're not allowing the truth to be spoken. Now, we may not always feel like spilling everything out and telling everybody everything, because I was in a conversation with a friend the other day and she said, Lizzie, you get to choose how much you want to share. We still have control over how much we really want to share with someone. And that needs to be a safe place as well. Right. If there's very personal things. But let's talk about how that really affects our body. When we think about it, we're suppressing our truth. We're suppressing the feelings. Have you ever been in if you're in a relationship and your partner's like, hey, is everything okay? And you're like, I know that everything's not okay, but you're just like, I'm fine. But it's actually like kind of your way of saying like, I'm not fine, but you want them to like pull it out of you. Yeah. And you want them to just like, no.
Oh, absolutely. I got to tell you this, I love the online etymology. I don't know if you ever use that, but the root definition, some of the root definitions of words. And I've just looked up what the word fine means as a noun. Listen to this: termination, end of life.
I saw that the other day.
My gosh. Absolutely. I have been in that space where someone's asked me, oftentimes I'm usually ticked off and I'll go, yeah, I'm fine. Right. Like that's been
And
my
you're not.
mode of operation. Clearly not.
But did you want to tell them that you're not fine, or were you like, I don't want to talk about it?
Well, sometimes I did. And truth be told, sometimes I wanted them to like go, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, what happened? You know, like just this whole bullshit, this victim blarney, you know, like
Yes.
that's, I know today I'm responsible to really speak my truth. And so that's a different place today. But
Yeah.
there are times when people, like when you talk about how much you want to share, have been times where people have asked me, how are you? And I don't know them. I'm sensing sharing the truth of where I am at doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll say, yeah, I'm fine. But if that word pops out of my mouth today, I'll be like, what's going on? Because that, like you say, there's a lie behind that word, and there's the energy of that word that's just doesn't read.
Yes. And the other thing too is you can use the word I'm okay. Like you can say, instead of saying I'm fine, you can say I'm okay. And recently I said that to someone because I was just okay at the moment. I knew it was going to get better, but I said, I'm okay. And he goes, just okay. I said, yes, right now I'm just okay, but I know it's going to get better. We're going to make things better, and I will be good. And I think that kind of like took him by surprise, because he's, super positive, very uplifting,
Right.
that kind of person. But I was in a place where I just spoke my truth of like, I'm not going to lie about the fact that I'm only okay at that moment, but I also know that it's going to get better.
Right.
That allowed me to speak that truth.
Right. And what I love about what you're saying is that your nature is to be very positive. Your nature is to be very uplifting. And there's a danger in that, because when we are people that are very positive, and I would say for the most part, I feel the same way about myself, when we're not being honest with ourselves and we don't feel safe to even share it with somebody that, I'm okay, I'm not great, I'm in that space, that we hide the truth, and it can really sneak up on us. Like there are people that we've seen in I just saw it just today, where they're very positive people and they've decided to leave their bodies, and because they don't feel that safe, or they don't know how to express or identify that they're not fine.
Yes, my positivity and me just always being that positive, bubbly person without like allowing people to see that I'm also human and sometimes I'm not okay, has also gotten me into trouble, because I've had people put me on a pedestal as if I couldn't do anything wrong. And because of that, if I do something or did something that was quote unquote wrong or not the best choice, it broke something in them and put a strain on the relationship, because they didn't expect that I would do something like that. And that's what happens when you put someone on a pedestal, because you think they're God or they can't do anything wrong. And you should never be putting someone on a pedestal like that, because we're all human. But if we go into how this affects our bodies, if you really think about it, on not speaking the truth about how it is that you're feeling and what's going on. Now, one thing that I do want to make clear here is we're not talking about going out there and having your pity party over and over and whining about everything. We're not talking about that, because that's a different thing, because that then puts you in that victim mentality of like, poor me, everything, is wrong around me and with me. We don't want to go there, but we do want to acknowledge the fact that it's okay to say that you're not okay. But what happens with the body is like everything's connected, physically, emotionally, mentally. And so when we're not speaking our truth and we're not acknowledging the fact that things are not always okay, we start suppressing those things, and that starts putting stressors on the body. So for example, I want to just point out the thyroid for a minute here. Many women that have hypothyroidism or even Hashimoto's disease that is connected to the thyroid, those things can stem from not speaking your truth. Those things can stem, hypothyroidism can stem from a suppressed voice, because your thyroid lives in your throat chakra.
Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I did not know this until after I got diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and I was working with a coach at the moment that knew those types of things. And he said, well, you know that hypothyroidism is connected to suppression and not speaking the truth, not speaking your truth, not speaking up. You're allowing the things that are spoken. If you, let's say, for example, you're in a conversation and someone says something and you don't agree with it, but instead of speaking up and saying, no, like, I don't agree with that, that's not really actually how it is, you just kind of like shove it under the rug to keep the peace. But internally in your body, it's doing something to your body physically, emotionally. And the more you do that over and over and over, eventually it's going to come out somewhere.
Oh my God. That's huge. When you think of the number of women that still feel suppressed in their lives, in their relationships, maybe at work, and it doesn't have to be just women. I mean, men and women do the same thing. But you think of that, you think of the amount of abuse that is out there that's going on. And when we're not speaking our truth, really, we're abusing our own bodies in this. Like, that's huge, Lizzie.
Yes.
Holy mackerel.
It's really, really crazy when you think about that, because it also affects your cortisol. So if you're in a situation where let's say you're in a relationship that you're in the same house and it's very, very toxic, you are constantly in that fight or flight situation. And so your cortisol is going to be like up here because it's trying to protect you. Well, your cortisol is also connected to your thyroid and your hormones and your adrenals. And so as long as you're having to be up here, the body's going to try to stay up here to protect you. But once you step out of the situation and you go somewhere where it feels safe, I can guarantee your body's going to crash. It's going to crash. Now, there's different scenarios of how this can happen. But a year ago, I did a wellness workshop, women's wellness retreat with a friend of mine, and it was Thursday to Sunday. So I'm on this entire time, like I'm giving, but I'm up here the entire time, and I couldn't sleep well, because I was one of the leaders, and so I couldn't get myself to come down. And Sunday morning, we had brunch, and then we packed everything up. I drive home, and I was fine on the drive home. And I walked into my house, and as soon as I walked in, my entire body crashed. I laid down on the couch. I could barely get up the rest of the day. And it took me almost an entire week to recover from that. I had to take like 5-HTP to like boost my serotonin levels to help me get out of it. I literally fell into depression.
Wow. That's insane.
Yes.
That's insane. Well, you're just blowing our minds here right out of the gate. Like, I love this. I'm like I'm a sponge. I want more and I want more. And I know that our listeners want more as well, but they have to wait because we're up for our second break of the show, everyone. Lizzie Ens, the host of I'm Not Fine here on the Inspired Choices Network. You must connect with Lizzie. Lizzie, what's your email address so they can start sending you emails?
Lizzie@undietyourself.live.
.live, L-I-V-E. So everyone stick around. We're going to our second break and we'll be right back with more of Lizzie Ens.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone, to I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. I'm Christine McIver. I have the indeed pleasure to speak with Lizzie today live, introducing her to the world. This is her debut show, but it certainly will not be her last show. Lizzie, before we jump back into the conversation, how can people work with you? What does it look like to work with you? Can you give them a little bit of information on that and any programs that you have?
Absolutely. Currently, I lead one-on-one coaching program that I take all of my clients through. You can book a free consultation with me because I want to be able to get to know you before we work together and get you to know me, because it's a partnership. We link arms and we work together. And so it has to feel right. So that's why I do those consultations. You can find that link in the Inspired Choices Network webpage.
In the show notes of the
show note. Yes. So you can grab that link if you want to book a call with me. And then what I do with that is I'm going to take you on a journey of really learning how you can fuel and nourish your body to give you more energy, better sleep, heal your gut, your hormones, but it's all connected. And we do labs to see what is going on internally. And then we connect those dots from a functional approach, and we pair your nutrition plan and your supplement plan along with that. And that just helps excel your progress, because we're connecting all the dots versus just looking at one thing.
One area. That's awesome. Your customer, your clients must be thrilled when they work with you. That's fantastic. And I can tell that you love doing it. You're so turned on about it. That's awesome. Now, in the show description, we talked about going from feeling fine to feeling amazing. Can you give us some ideas of how we can go from maybe in a difficult situation where we haven't been truthful with ourselves, where we're not being truthful with others and speaking our truth, to really starting at least on the journey of going to amazing, if not being there yet?
Yes. So there's, not feeling fine emotionally and mentally, and then not feeling fine physically. But when we really think about it, it's all connected, because when you don't feel fine physically, you typically don't feel fine mentally. Mm-hmm. Perfect example. Like, I decided to go eat. I don't typically eat gluten. And the other night I was like, you know what? I'm going to have this cookie that is absolutely amazing. Never had it before, but I wanted it. And I know how gluten affects me and how what I may feel the next day. I still ate it. So it was paired with the gluten and the sugar. And I ate it, and I woke up the next day with a migraine, and I felt like I had a hangover. I did not drink, but I felt like I had a hangover. And brain fog. When we feel like that physically, we don't feel well emotionally. We don't feel well mentally. We can't think as clear. So we have to think of it as a whole body thing as well. But what I really want to drive forward here is like, it starts with how you take care of your health and your body. Because if we can take control of how we feel physically, we're going to feel better mentally and emotionally as well. We're going to feel more grounded. But the first thing that I want to encourage the listeners to think about is when you hear yourself saying, I'm fine, check in with yourself and ask yourself, why is it that you're saying I'm fine instead of I'm good? Because the first part of that is recognizing that you're saying that you're fine when you're not.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So checking in with yourself like that. Go ahead.
It makes me laugh. I don't know why this thought came to me, but I've heard different people say, well, you don't want to be amazing because if you get to amazing, then you're going to crash. As if you can't maintain being amazing. What would you say to people that say that?
Well, life is not about always being up or always being down. Life is going to be like this, a roller coaster.
Right.
It's like I was thinking yesterday, I was thinking about stress. And a lot of people go, I want to live a stress-free life. Well, I heard this amazing woman talk about stress in a TED Talk one time, and she goes, she has clients come to her and say, I want to live a stress-free life. And she'd be like, well, then you have dead people's goals.
You have dead people's goals?
Dead people's goals. Because there is no such thing as a stress-free life. There's no such thing. You're going to have stress at some point, but it's that pendulum. How do you swing with it? Right. How do you recognize that you are not okay and what is happening in your life? Because you're going to have things that happen in your life that you're going to have to say, okay, how do I swing with this? How do I make sure that I'm recognizing the fact, instead of fighting it, you move with it. And when you learn how to move with it and recognize those things, when you're stressed or when you're not fine and you go, okay, I'm going to check in with myself. Why is it that I'm only fine, but not good? But the idea of like not wanting to be amazing, like that's crazy. Yeah. Because that means that you're not allowing yourself to ever get to a place of being amazing. And as if you only expect, if you get to a place of amazing, you're just going to fall.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people that have these silly thoughts, and what you expect, you will create. Absolutely. I just love that saying, how do I swing with this? How do I, and we're not talking about sex. We're not talking about being a swinger. That's a different show. That's Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Right.
But how do I swing with this? It feels very empowering to me because it has that energy of stepping back out of it, like not being drowning, marinating in, I feel angry, I feel this, I feel that. It's like, okay, how do I swing with this? It's so empowering because it feels to me, Lizzie, when saying that now I have choice. Where when a lot of times when we're in the really awful spaces of our lives, that we feel like we are at the effect of something and we don't have a choice, but that, how do I swing with this, gives me the energy of choice.
Right. And if you have the mental or the mindset of how do I swing with this, and you tune in with yourself with that, it avoids you from being in this reactive state of like reacting to everything. So instead of feeling like you have to react to something specifically that you don't feel okay with, you're like, okay, how do I go with this? And it gives you that choice of checking in with yourself, and then choice of, okay, what do I do? I can choose to either react and, be a crazy person over here, or I can say, what do I need to learn from this? What is this trying to teach me?
Right. Yeah. I've never been a crazy person, just for the record. Not true at all.
Not true.
I think
No, because I've had things happen in my life before where it's like, oh, I just want to like do this. And it was a reaction. It could be like, I'm feeling a certain way and I'm like, I'm just gonna like blast this out on social media because this is how I'm feeling. And then I check in with myself and I go, what's really the purpose of this? Is this really gonna help me or someone else? Or what is the emotion behind it? And what is it going to do? And if it's like, hey, I'm only doing this because it's out of a reaction, then there's no point in me doing it.
So when sorry, my brain is always jumping to the next thought because I just get a vision of you working with people and talking to them about this. Do you find that when you're working with your clients that as much as you have an amazing amount of nutrition knowledge, do you find you're doing a lot of psychological work with them as well?
Absolutely. That is a huge piece of it. It's like I tell them in the beginning, I say, listen, this is not just about weight loss. This is about getting you to feel better. And I want to get you to a place where you see the benefit of fueling and nourishing your body in a way that makes you feel better. And that takes the focus off of how much weight they want to lose. And when you can take kind of like that stressor off of the scale or the number on the scale and you go, okay, this is a longevity thing. And this is what I want to feel like. And I can get them to have more energy and better sleep within the first week or two. The weight loss is just a byproduct on the side that comes along with it. But the focus isn't so heavy on that. But I will have some people that I will have to work with much harder on the psychological things and the emotional connection to the scale because it's been years of being tied to it. And so I have to work with them a little bit more closely on breaking away from that thought process and get them to understand that that's only a little piece of it, but it does not disregard, or we're not disregarding the fact that they want to lose weight. We're never disregarding that. Like that is a valid goal, but it doesn't matter how much weight you lose if you don't feel good.
Right. And the root of both of those, of feeling good and losing weight, becoming more stronger, more able, the root of all of that comes down to our psychology, does it not?
Oh yes, absolutely. But I'm going to be diving into this in the next few weeks, like big time, because my business is UnDiet Yourself, and UnDiet Yourself. When we come back from break, I'm going to dive into that a little bit more about how that came about and the purpose behind that, because of the dieting industry and how we've been told that we need to be on a diet, it has really, really messed up our mindset of like what we need to be doing to help our body or help us lose weight and keep it off.
Well, then without any more conversation, we're going to break so we can get back here and hear what you have to say about this. So everybody stick around. You're listening to Lizzie Ens on I'm Not Fine on the Inspired Choices Network. We'll be right back with Lizzie Ens.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everybody. You're here with Lizzie Ens. I'm Christine McIver on the I'm Not Fine show, the very first show that Lizzie is being introduced to the world. And Lizzie, right before break, you were teasing us about more that you're going to be sharing with us. Please jump right in. We only have a few minutes left to wrap up our show.
Absolutely. So UnDiet Yourself is all about deconstructing our mindset about what we've been taught since the 70s, 80s, 90s of what a diet should look like. So there's always trends, new trends in each era, each decade. So like in the 90s, it was like low fat. They took like all the fat out of our foods and said, you got to be low fat. But then we got sicker. More people got heart disease and diabetes. But if you Google diets, you're going to have hundreds of diets come up.
For sure. Thousands.
But the dieting industry does not have your best interest at heart because it's one of those things that you have to keep coming back to. So it's this yo-yo thing where you have to, I've gone through it myself because we want a quick fix. We live in a microwave world. We want something that gives us instant results. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is so most diets, not all of them, but most of them will give us instant results, whether it's you're eating extremely low calorie or you are cutting out major food groups like, hey, don't ever eat a carb, those kinds of things. Right. You'll get results. But the question you always have to ask yourself is this sustainable? Do I want to do this long term? And how is this affecting my health and my body?
Say those three again. Slow down. Say them again.
Is this sustainable?
Is this sustainable?
Do I want to do this for the rest of my life?
Do I want to do this for the rest of my life?
I want to eat like this. Like, is this really how I want to eat?
Yep.
And what was the third one? I forgot it already.
That's so funny. It's a good thing we have it recorded. The three questions were amazing. Somebody in the chat room will remember. But, it's so funny because when you talk about, I want to hear about these different, decades where there was different things. And I remember the decade when they were talking about cutting out the fats. Mm-hmm. I'm a few years older than you, Lizzie, so I do remember some of those things. But I always thought that's just ridiculous. I remember when my dad, when we would have steak, right? We would fight for the fat on the edge of the steak because that was so sweet. And I love best part. I would love it. I'm like, I'm not cutting that out, but it's fascinating. Yes, I've been on diets, but it's not something that I've really ever would say out loud. There was no shame associated. I was always looking for, I wanted to change the way that I was interacting with food. And I wanted to have something that I was changing my process, not just going on a one-time diet, but my daughter, and it honestly, I never would say to people, I'm on a diet, I've been on a diet, whatever. I would say my daughter, when she was about 6 years old, she came home from school and she said, I need to go on a diet. And I'm like, what? Like, and it's everywhere. It's so, it's a money-making industry to be on a diet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, like 4 billion something. I got it. It was, how is this affecting my health?
How is
this sustainable? Is this sustainable? Do I want to do this for the rest of my life? And how is this affecting my health? The last one is the one that everybody should be asking themselves. How is this affecting my health? Because when I went through the yo-yo, I did some crazy diets because I wanted that quick result. Right. Those were some of the things that led into my thyroid issues, my hormone issues, and my health issues it can lead to that. Now, you may not notice that right away, which I didn't, but eventually, after years of doing that, I got there where it's like, okay, it was actually caused by that part of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure most people, most industries don't want us to know that one. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got about 4 minutes left in the show. And I know that you're going to be diving into these topics even more deeply coming up. Next week's show is medical system failure. What's next? Oh, I can't wait to hear that. That's fantastic. What I would like to know is, Lizzie, what are some of the things that people can expect when they're tuning into your show, and some of the episodes, like the general topics that you're going to be covering?
Absolutely. I'm going to be going into, the basics of how you can start taking care of your health and your body. But one of my favorite things to do is show people how simple it can be. How simple it can be to get started, and that you do not have to go on a quote unquote diet. Now, some people feel like it's a diet when you tell them, hey, eat more fruits and vegetables. But a diet is what you eat, but dieting, that's a different thing. So something that I teach my clients is, okay, a diet is what you eat. Yes. So technically we are all on a diet because we're eating. It's the foods that we consume. But dieting means that you have a name attached to it. And sometimes that name of a specific diet is what makes people feel empowered, because it's like, I'm attached to this keto diet. I'm attached to this carnivore diet. I'm attached to Optavia. Like they want the name to be attached to it. So it feels like there's like a reason or a purpose behind it. But what I do, and what I'm going to be teaching on this show, is like, how can you go back to the basics? We got to go back to the basics of what our ancestors did. Not everything, because we're not living in the same era as our ancestors, because they lived off the land. Mm-hmm. And they grew their own food. Most of us are not doing that. So times do change, but the basic foundation of your health should always be what's on your plate. How are you fueling and nourishing your body? The water you're drinking, how you're sleeping, and how you are moving your body. That's your foundation. And it can look different for each individual depending on how active you are, or what your job is like, or what you got going on with your health. If you've had 10 years of a specific health problem, it's probably going to take a little bit more work and time for you to heal the body. But it is always so surprising to my clients, by implementing into their life, like, okay, we're just going to focus on these 3 simple things in week 1. And in the first week, they're like, oh my gosh, I already feel so much better just by doing these 3 things. And I'm like,
that's awesome. I love hearing that. So you're not going to have people jumping through these huge hoops that will, probably get them to be very frustrated. You're going to be giving simple support and direction going forward. I know that you are very active on social media. People can connect with you on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You're everywhere, Twitter, Pinterest, everywhere. Your show is going to be out everywhere very, very shortly, so people can connect, but they can always find you here on inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Your podcast will be all here, both your audio and your TV. And of course, they can find you on your websites and through your email. So one more time, give us your website and your email address, please. And then we got to go.
Website, www.lizzieens.com. That's for my book. And then for my business, for my coaching, it's www.undietyourself.live.
Okay, well, you heard it, guys. This is just the beginning. We got so much more, Lizzie. This is excellent. I'm very excited to hear all of the amazing knowledge you're going to be sharing with us. Stick around, everybody. She'll be back next week. Until then, take good care of yourself.
Thank you for listening to the I'm Not Fine show. Lizzie Ens returns Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, have the best week of your life by making choices that take you from feeling fine to feeling amazing.